My name is Pam, welcome back to my bookshelf, and today we're doing my March 2021 wrap-up. This month felt so long. I don't know why. I struggled to read books this month, but I still managed to read 5 different books, and I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts about them today. As with the last couple times I've done this, I'm going to try and limit myself to 30 seconds per book to try and keep these videos a little shorter than some other ideas I have planned. So the first book I managed to read in March was Casablanca Iroha by Anna Marie McLemore. Wow, what a beautiful book. I borrowed an ebook version from my library on my phone, and that might have been a mistake because I had so much trouble getting through this. I had trouble connecting to the story, and I often forgot to read because I'm so used to carrying a book with me. It was strange to have my book be in my phone, which I do carry with me, but it was strange having that disconnect, but also juxtaposition of, yeah, I have a book with me, but the book's in my phone. So it was still a magical book though. Anna Marie McLemore is incredible. Their writing is so magical. They have just mastered the art of the modern fairy tale. The book doesn't really have a setting, like a year, like this set in 2000 whatever. I've already been talking about this book for a minute. Okay, so it's about 2 sisters. Wow, what a theme. I've been reading a lot of books about siblings lately. It's very interesting. It's about these 2 sisters, Blanca Iroha, who are in this family that's been cursed to always have 2 daughters, and one of them gets taken away by these swans and is turned into a swan herself. And so you're going through this book being like, which sister is going to get turned into a swan? You get to learn about the relationship these sisters have and how close they are and how much they love each other and care for each other so hard. And then these 2 other people get entwined in the adventure of which sister is going to get turned into a swan. But yeah, with reading it on my phone, I felt like I wasn't getting lost in a story. I wasn't getting lost in a book. This book was 5 stars, and I have loved all of Anna Marie McLemore's books before this, and I cannot wait to read their other 3 books that I have not read yet. Alright, the second book I read in March was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal el-mohtar and Max Gladstone. Whoa. This was really cool. It's about these 2 time-traveling agents called Red and Blue. I think those are just code names, though. And they start to write letters to each other. And they both want to win the war that they're fighting because they're fighting for opposite sides. But they start to form a great connection because of these letters that they're writing. This was really weird to read, though. Some of the writing was kind of overly poetic, maybe. I still really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 stars. And I really, really, really enjoyed the ending. That was really, really cool. But yeah, this is sci-fi, if you couldn't tell from the time travel. You should read this book if you're looking for something short, but fun and also confusing. The next book I read in March was an audiobook, and it was for The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is my first horror novel of the year, and it was spooky. I didn't get scared in the conventional I'm watching a scary movie sense, but I did feel a lot of suspense reading this, and I had fun. That's all I want in a book. I want to have fun reading it. So this book is about 4 Native American men who were on a hunting trip, and now we're having consequences from this hunting trip 10 years later. It was really cool. Phenomenal writing. I will be looking into Stephen Graham Jones' other work, but for now, this one was 4 stars. There were a few things I didn't like about it. More of those details are in my written Goodreads review, linked below, in a spoiler section. I actually got this book as a physical copy for my dad for Christmas, and he and I read it together. It's really cool. So I read the audiobook, and he read the physical book. I don't know what his thoughts are yet. I think he's almost done. Alright, the 4th book I read this month was Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Boy, this was a doozy. This was the longest, shortest book I've ever read. And I think that's just a little bit of how Gabriel Garcia Marquez writes. He has very long exposition writing, hardly any dialogue. This was tough to get through. I really had to push myself towards the halfway to the end mark. I really had to push myself to keep reading because I'm a completionist. I wanted to be able to say I finished this. But this was 2 stars. I didn't like it. This is the first book of the year that I actively did not like. And basically, I think it's just because this book was a product of its time. This came out in the 80s, and it shows. There's some language in here that's just not good. Not really acceptable today. And I didn't really connect with the characters in the way that I think you're meant to. Like, I wasn't falling in love with the main characters the way they were falling in love with each other, because this is about two people who fall in love when they're young, but then one of them chooses to marry someone else instead, and then the guy decides he's going to wait for her to be available again. So he spends 51 years, 9 months, and 4 days after he first declared his love. He will do so again, basically when her husband dies. There were some really nice lines about love, but that's about it. That's all I really enjoyed. I probably will pick up more from Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I think this one might just be an outlier for myself. I've known him as a magical realism author, and there was none in here. This was pure realistic fiction. I've almost finished 100 Years of Solitude, and so hopefully I'll finish that one before starting a new one. But for now, I did not like this one. And the last book I read in March was Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is book 2 in the Illuminae Files trilogy. Oh, fun noise. I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but wow, this was a fun sequel. I really enjoyed some of these characters. Personally, my favorite was Ella. She was amazing. I was rooting for her all the time. And there were a couple characters that were kind of annoying. And I did quite like Hannah, our main protagonist. But overall, I'm going to wait a little bit before the third book because there were some things I didn't like in here, and I don't know if those will be recurring in the third book. I enjoyed it, and I think I enjoyed it more than Illuminae. I think I rated both of them 4 stars, but I think some of the action in this book was just more fun. But there were definitely some terrifying moments in here, don't get me wrong. This is a scary book if you have certain triggers. I'm really excited to see where this goes into the third book, third and final, Obsidio. So yeah, that's all I could read in March. I don't know why things went so slowly. Like, I was expecting to read more this month, but I didn't. It's okay. I will be linking all of my written reviews down below if you wanted to read a few more things that I might not have said in this video. And now to hopefully read even more in April while also doing Camp NaNoWriMo. Basically, I started the draft of a novel back in November, and I'm hoping to finish it this month. I want to hit the end. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more bookish content, and comment down below a book that you read and enjoyed in March. Alright, hope you have a good day and happy reading. Bye! And the last book I read for April, no,